what I was thinking to share is actually a much more complex and, like Venerable Chikme most probably would say, messy process, then I have to simplify to put it in 10 minutes. And so there is a bit of danger to get it kind of very simplified and black-white, but I hope still I can offer some of my experience. And that starting as a young woman, I think with kind of beautiful, sincere motivation, aspirations, when I wanted to take monastic vows and enter into ordained life. But I do also think there was quite high and very unrealistic expectations and idealizations of the path, of what the path is, what I can be in this very life. Also, there was kind of a pride of youth. I don't know if some of you know that one. And that definitely I know better than the ones before me. And the center of the universe is very clear where that one is. And also quite a perfectionist, wanting to be best and correct, right? So that comes very convenient then to take monastic life. You don't need to be correct. And then also some deep sense of something maybe is quite wrong with me. So I don't know if you know that one. So in that environment, then to have the teachings on self-clinging and self-centered thought is really the enemy. I saw how easily that could be, even though taught in certain moments, but it was not so clear, maybe like when our children here has made it so clear. But yes, there was very clear that this self-clinging, it's not you, it's, not this clinging to self, but you're not yet so clear. And so the enemy is here. It's all of this, right? And so easily then this is a problem. And instead of the kleshas are a problem, all this is a problem, no? And so if anger is coming up, I'm a problem, right? So that gets very easy, kind of feeding in to a very self-critical, self-judgment mind that then very easily, for sure, also is judging the world around me very heavily. And it really becomes quite difficult to live with a person that is all the time judging you. I don't know if you know that. I mean, it's really tiring. And you really feel like, wow, I mean, it's heavy on you, and it can really get really heavy on you. And also, it really puts much more critical thoughts out there, because the mind is not satisfied constantly. It never is enough, never is good enough, not it's the right thing, it's not correct, not doing enough, not being enough, etc., etc. And then I realized it's such an obstacle. This kind of mind is such an obstacle on the path, because you don't want to all the time having this judging person close to you. You put some walls around, right? And so you have some private spheres where you can do certain things, but you don't look at it. You don't want to get too close to it. You just do that in a kind of private chamber where the judge person cannot come in, right? So then you have these areas, and then you get kind of more dissatisfied because you know you have areas where you actually want to work on, want to improve, but they stay kind of in a shade because there is a wall around it, no? And not to be looked at. And so I saw that there is obstacles with this self-judging mind. There is a lot of obstacle actually for growth in that. So then at one point we were working on our emotion model, and Venerable Damji was giving some teaching on metta, and I heard that, and I heard her teachings, and I was like, oh, I remember that practice from my early Dharma years. Before being a nun, I practiced in that tradition. I was like, oh, that worked very well for me. And then I had to also look up reading materials for our program, and dived into this practice again, and really kind of let myself, kind of dive in until and actually Venerable Ramji said, okay, now you are ready to give, a talk. You can give a talk, your first talk online in Spanish. Do about this one. And I was like, Urgh. But it was exactly like lots of you here expressed during the course. It's such a good opportunity to then really dive even deeper and really also doing the practice more regularly. And I would really I think I can say that it was a turning point in how I started to practice. Because I realized that loving kindness meditation, you really cannot do without doing the step of acceptance. As we have here many times here and also in the course, that acceptance is a big part for starting to be able to offer yourself kind of kindness, just kindness or gentleness, maybe not even love at the beginning, but just kind of being more gentle, needs a kind of an acceptance where you are. Just kind of, okay, you are here, and I accept just what is there. And then from there, really kind of stepping in more in this more soft, gentle space in myself, and then also realizing, oh, also you can offer that to others and be more gentle, more accepting with what is there, also for them. So it was an insight, and also going outside part, learning part, and still is very much. What was then really the interesting part, I feel, is one part I think is really interesting in it is it's kind of a process of becoming more human, accepting to be human, maybe putting it that way. No, it's a kind of a process of accepting being human, like we heard from Venerable Trini right at the beginning of the course. No, this really big kind of step of accepting being human. And then also what the interesting part for me is what with this loving kindness meditation is that I started to notice much more clearly the contraction and the openness, even as a physical part. Like when everything in me contracts, and when it can start kind of letting go open, and how that feels different. And in which moments is the contraction, and in which moment is the open connecting. And then I start to realize, oh, the kleshas. Okay, here they are. Okay, when I see this contraction is coming, I can be for sure there is some klesha running around. So I be more attentive or see what's going on. No? And if there is openness, there is more kind of connection. And there are also more, maybe more like gratitude, appreciation, compassion, or sometimes just like more an equanimous space, right, of holding. So then it's kind of this openness. And so from there, then now hearing teaching, very clear, self-grasping is a big enemy because, it's so obvious what it does in a gross level, and obvious more and more, and still a long process, on a more and more and more subtle level, how it disconnects, how it makes separate, how it's separating us. And to start, for me, it was very helpful to now come from that angle of seeing this really this connection that our afflicted mind makes with ourselves, first of all, and then with all around us, and with our environment, with other people, with everybody, finally, And how this disconnection is happening through this really wrong perception that there is a real I there to hold on to. And so so that is kind of a small journey through this. And as for ending, I think one thing that I heard from Suzuki Roshi, I don't know if I quoted exactly how he said it, but I feel it's quite just the point. He said something like, "I'm perfect just as I am, and there is a lot of room for improvement."